founder of Level Up Score, and I'm excited to just talk to you today about some information that I think you might find interesting. And the title of my topic is actually clients don't want you to call them. So this might be a little crazy to say that, but I will say it with conviction here that clients really, really don't want you to call them. And if you kind of think about it for yourself in terms of, whether or not you want to take a phone call, especially from a salesperson or anybody for that matter, we're all busy, right? We're busy. We have our work. A lot of people working 9 to 5. Your clients are working 9 to 5. That's the same hours you're working. So they might be at work. They might be picking up kids. They might be at McDonald's. That happens to me a lot. And so they really don't want to talk to you. So I'm going to introduce to you a new concept that I'd like to just kind of share with you, open your mind to it. And then I do offer a masterclass on it that you can take and get more information and kind of deep dive into this. But I'd like to just kind of open your mind to it. So, here's the real truth about this. They really don't want you to call them. They don't. They want you to be able, they want to get the information, don't get me wrong, but they don't want to actually be on that phone call with you. Funny story is that, oftentimes you would get on a phone call consultation. I know you've had this. They schedule the call, they don't answer, right? You get that. They schedule the call and you're on it for 30 or 45 minutes. And at the end of the call, they're like, oh, I need to talk to my spouse. Or they might say, hey, you know what? You gave me a lot of information, but I was distracted because I'm at work and someone came into the office or the kids are talking or whatever, and they didn't get all the information. And then like, oh, will you email me all that? Or, you know what, can we reschedule so we can go over this again? I know you guys have had that because I've been in this business for 23 years and I've had it repeatedly over and over and over again. And so what happened in that 30 to 45 minutes that you were on that call, right? It kind of feels defeating. And you certainly have blocked off your schedule for that. But most of us have built our business around those calls. We built our business around consultation calls. We built our business around monthly review calls. And it's like the thing that we do. It's what we were taught. It's how we got into business in the first place. And to think about that there might be a better way for you and your clients can kind of feel a little weird at first. And I'm going to present that to you. I just want you to have an open mind to it. I have personally been using it, so I know it works. So I'm not sharing something with you that I have not tested and tried. And not only have I tested and tried it, but I've mentored other credit professionals to do the same, and just ask you to have an open mind about it because I have that full system that I teach on mastering online consultations and those monthly reviews. And if you can open your mind to it and look at that and do what I'm saying in that, you're going to find a huge relief off of your shoulders, because I know how you feel. If you have several clients, you're getting up in the morning, you're looking at your calendar, and it's just stacked full of consultations, and it feels productive. It feels like, oh, I'm winning because I have all of these consultations to do or all of these monthly reviews to do. But really, in the long scheme of things, you're not winning. Because when your schedule is full, you can't do other things that are really important for your business, like working on scaling your business, working on different ideas and systemizations and automations and making your business better and better, interviewing your clients. All those things are really important to your business. You're not able to do because you're busy on the consultations. You're busy doing the monthly reviews. You're busy repeating yourself over and over and over again. I had a colleague who asked me to share my calendar with him so he knew when I was available for different meetings that we needed to do together. And I remember the day that I shared it with him, he was like, oh my goodness, I would not want your life. Because it was from the time that the opening hours happened to late in the evening that I was back to back with consultations and monthly review calls. And, it would be 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I would block out 15-minute calls. And guess what? They would go run over to that 30-minute mark. And so I was late for the next one and the next one. And my day just kept dragging on. I know you tried it too. You're like, I'm going to set it 15 minutes. It's just going to be 15 minutes. I know I tried that and it didn't work. And so again, I want to share with you a shift in your thinking. Look at this a little different way. So bear with me. I'm going to show you this in less than 30 minutes of what I do, what I've had other credit professionals do to scale their business, give themselves a life back. Imagine for a moment, and this was true for me, that when I changed to this new mastering online consultation process and monthly reviews, that I would wake up in the morning and before it was hours for work, I would already have all of my consultations done, all of my reviews done. And my calendar would be empty so that I could fill it with the things that were important to me in my business, growing and scaling my business, spending time with my children, spending time with my spouse, spending time with the community, doing outreaches and things like that, the things that really truly help build my heart, right? And so imagine that for a second, if you had that opportunity as well, and you do, and I'm going to share that with you today. So really excited to bring this to you. So let's get into it. I'd like to introduce why calls are killing your business. And you will resonate with this, I know, because you're gonna hear this in your own life. You're gonna feel, oh yes, that's me. How many times has someone booked a call with you and they don't show up, right? Or you're calling and you're leaving voicemails. You're chasing them, right? How do you feel like you're chasing them? And finally, there's times where you do get them on the phone. Maybe they scheduled that call. You do get them on the phone. You're on the phone call for 30, 45 minutes. And then they're like, hold on, I'm at McDonald's. That happened to me more of the times than I can say. And that's why I use that a lot. You might hear me talk about the I'm at McDonald's call. And they're at McDonald's, they're ordering food. And I always had the joke because it happens so often. Like, what are you buying for me? I'm hungry too. Or they might say, wait, hold on. Someone walked into my office. Or like, I'm at my office. I have to be quiet, but thank you for calling me. And they're distracted and they're not really getting the information. And then you wonder why after 30 or 45 minutes, you haven't been able to convert them into a client. They're distracted. They're not even sure what you're talking about. And they probably didn't hear a lot of what you said, especially the valuable things. And it tends to be that they end up controlling that conversation, asking repetitive questions. You're like, man, I just answer that question. They're asking that question again. I know you felt that way because I have felt that way too. And again, I want to show you a better way. And then, you spend all that time on the call with them. And then the next thing you're like, oh, can you just email me all that so that I can look at it later? And so today, again, I want to show you a shift in how you could do things a little differently that may dramatically affect your business in a positive way where you can grow and scale your business a lot faster. So, so this is my favorite is, you had that 45-minute call, right? And then the questions, like they ask the same questions. They repeat, you're repeating yourself over and over again. And, the one thing that I want to share with you is we will complain. As credit professionals, I know I've heard you complain. I know I've complained. I'm like, I can't believe they scheduled this appointment and they weren't really available. They're out ordering McDonald's. They're on another phone. I've had people on another phone call, on a call with me, right? All of this stuff is going on. And I'm thinking, man, that's really rude. They didn't put that time aside for me. And then, but the truth is, it's not the client problem. It's your system problem. They're working 9 to 5. They have busy lives. They're doing things that they can't not do. And so happens that you had an available slot on your calendar at this time. It's not the most convenient time for them. And you probably don't have one that is the most convenient time for them because they are busy people just like we are, right? And so it's probably not the client problem. It's a system problem. And that's what I want to show you today is how can you change that? What is something that you can do? So, I'm going to introduce you to my Mastering Online Consultation class. A lot of credit professionals have already taken this class. They love it. They report back to me and they're like, I wish I had taken something like this before. This came about when TSR was being, people were talking about it like all the time, right? And they're like concerned about having those call consultations. And people were like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. And so at that point in time, I decided to turn off my consultation phone calls. And it was kind of an interesting transition. I'll kind of share that with you. But when I first started in business, it was all face-to-face. So if you wanted to work with me, you would have to come to my office. So you would dress up and you would make the appointment and you come to the office. And those consultations were generally about an hour, 2 hours long because you're building rapport in the beginning and a lot of things are going on, right? And then I had a business coach that said, hey, Allie, you can't scale this business if you're going to do these face-to-face consultations. You just simply can't. There's not enough hours in the day. And he was right. And then I said, okay, so I'm going to do these phone consultations. But I remember before I transitioned to that, and the conversation I had with my coach was, I don't know why anybody would buy from me over the phone if they can't see my face. And I'm building that know, like, and trust, right? That face-to-face. We all know that works. Face-to-face works really well. And I just couldn't fathom that someone would buy from me over the phone, not being able to build that rapport with me. And I was wrong, right? So the consultations on the phone actually worked. I was able to build rapport through understanding them and giving them time and grace to speak and let me know what their goal is, and we can talk about that and expand on it. And so I was able to do that. But so it went from an hour to 2 hour consultation to then 30 to 45 minute consultation. And I thought, this is a huge win for me. And then when the whole TSR thing came out, I was like, man, I can't talk to people on the phone. Like, how are they going to build rapport with me and understand that I am the right person for the job if I can't actually talk to them on the phone? And I remember when I had that thought come across my mind, I kind of laughed at myself because I had the same thought from going from face to face to phone consultations, right? And so I was like, okay, so maybe it's my thought process that's in the way of this, not actually reality. And so I decided I was just going to turn off phone calls, and there was not going to be any phone consultations. And so I teach that in the Mastering Online Consultation class. You'll see that QR code that you can scan to get more information about that class. But I teach it in that class how I actually was able to do that. And it's actually pretty freaking easy. And then once I did that for several months and I saw my conversion rates actually increase, not decrease, increase, and I was able to get more leads in because I had more time to do that and grow the business, that my income started increasing by going to online consultations. But the best part, because everything I think I test, it's like, okay, automations are great, systems are great, but do they work? And so what I mean by that is not just work for me, but do they work for the client? What's the feedback I'm getting from the clients? And it was really amazing. The clients would call me or message me or comment in the video and say, wow, this is amazing. Thank you for doing this. I've watched it a couple times. That's one of the values in doing these video consultations, is that they can rewatch that recording over and over again. Not to, the other part of that is compliance, right? I can tell them how my program works. They can't say I didn't say it, because it's all recorded in a video, which is also really nice. But they resonated with that. They were able to watch it over again. If they had the objection that the spouse needed to be involved, they could let the spouse watch the video, right? So it's not me repeating myself over and over again. And it worked really well. Not only, like I said before, my conversion rate increased, but my client satisfaction also increased. People really like the fact that they did not have to schedule an appointment with me, and they can watch this video early in the morning or late at night or whenever it was convenient for them, where they can sit down and really digest it. And that is super important, especially when someone's trying to reach a big goal. They want to know that the person behind that is going to be the person that's going to help them get to that goal, right? And so through those video consultations and the monthly updates, you're able to really exemplify that in a short period of time. So I talked about time frames. An hour to 2 hours in person, 30 to 45 minutes over the phone. I went to 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minute consultations. Now think about that for a second. So it was huge going from 1 hour to 2 hours, or 1 to 2 hours to 30 to 45 minutes, but it was even a bigger, awesome process to go to 5 to 7 minute consultations, right? And so think about that in terms of your day. How many of those can you do in a day without bogging your schedule down, and you have a life? And what I mean by that is, I will tell you, my schedule started like this after I started the online consultations and the monthly reviews. Is I would wake up in the morning and I would do all of those. And then I would sit with my kids. We would make breakfast together. We would sit down and talk. We would read. We would journal. We would color. We would all of those things. And then I would check in the middle of the day and on anything else that I decided to put on my calendar, right? Like yesterday, for instance, I didn't start my day until 12. It was actually 11:30 in the morning. I didn't start my day because I didn't need to, right? And so I think that's something I'd love to instill in you, is think of it differently. And it may work really well for you. So your consultation process was built right, but if it doesn't feel like relief, or you feel like it's a chore for you, then maybe there's a better way. And that's what I'm presenting to you. It's not that your phone consultations aren't working. They are. They obviously are, right? You're in business. But are they right for your clients? Are they right for your business and your growth? Maybe there's a different way. So if you're thinking like, hey, and let's be honest. How many times have you had a consultation scheduled or a monthly review scheduled on your calendar and they didn't answer and you're like, oh, man, that's a good break for me to have, right? That was me. I felt that way. I know you probably felt that way because we have all this time that we're spending with them and we're repeating things over and over again and it gets exhausting. And so them not answering actually feels like relief. And that's when we can realize that maybe something's broken here and we're not doing it in the most efficient way when we start to feel relief for the client not answering the phone, obviously. So again, I would like to introduce you to Mastering Online Consultations. Again, that QR code is up there if you'd like to scan that and get more information about that class. But the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit about that online consultation process. There is 4 steps in the online consultation process. And I'm going to give you kind of a high level just to shift your thinking that this is a possibility for you. But it's simple, structured, and scalable. And that's the most important part of the process. And there's no calls, right? Everyone's got to figure out how to get on your schedule kind of thing. So what I do instead is I do what I call online consultations. And it's not, some people think, oh, you're scheduling a Zoom call. No, remember, I didn't schedule anything, right? So online consultations, the way that I like to do them is I would do them as a Loom video. And that video would be sent out to the client. But I'm going to give you the steps on how I set that up because I think that's important to help you with this mind shift and maybe a way that you can do this for yourself. So here's how step 1 goes. Again, it's a 4-step process. The 4 steps are the pre-consultation setup. Talk about that first. And then reviewing the credit report. That'll be step 2. Recording the short video, that's step 3. And then of course, step 4 is having that call to action. And any of you guys who are doing social media stuff, it's important to have a call to action. We should have a call to action to everything that we're doing. And so that is part of that process, which would be step 4 is the actual call to action. But step 1, we'll talk about first. It's the pre-consult setup. And so I'm going to make my screen a little bit bigger for you to see this. It's a simple questionnaire. And so what I start with is I do a simple questionnaire that the consumer would fill out. This is, for me, a lot of my referrals came through from real estate agents and loan officers. So I would email back with this questionnaire that they would fill out. And that questionnaire would be very simple, just a couple questions on it. They would set up their credit monitoring, and then I would collect their goals. What is your goal? And is there any information that I might need or you'd like me to know? And that was a really important question. So it's typically my questionnaires are 2 questions and their contact information. Of course, I'm gathering that information. So there's no guessing and there's no live questioning on these pre-consultations as you normally would do in your consultation process. So in Mastering Online Consultation class, I do break this down and I show you the exact questionnaire I use. But for sake of what we're doing right now, just know that it is a questionnaire and it is simple. You don't want to have too many questions on a questionnaire. I've had people come to me and show me their questionnaires and it had 20 questions that the consumer had to ask. They're not going to do it. So it's better not to even force them to try to answer these questions. A lot of times they're going to lie on it anyway. So just kind of the goal and what they might want you to know about them, I think is a perfect questionnaire. You could do this as a landing page. You could do this as, I have one that's a quiz. It's a home buyer readiness quiz to see kind of where they're at. And that leads them into this questionnaire for this consultation. So that's the first part is step 1, doing the pre-consultation setup. I give a lot of in-depth information on how to do that in that class. I want to just bring you back to that if you have questions about that. And then step 2, review. So this is your expertise. This is what you're actually getting paid for, the analysis of their situation. So here's their goal and the analysis of their current situation and what's the gap that you're going to fix, right? And so this is where I would review that credit report, obviously review the goals, and then identify what's actually the gap, what's holding them back, what's keeping them from getting their goal, and how am I going to play the part to help them. And so I do that. A lot of the users of Level Up Score actually have run the credit report through Level Up Score so they can have their the analysis essentially done for them. So they're just kind of talking over that in the consultation video, which is the next step. The next step is to record a conversation. So this is really cool. What I typically do is I'll have the level up score action plan available and ready. I'll also have their credit report available and ready. And I start this video as a Loom video. So if you guys are familiar with Loom, you could do a free version of it. There's a paid version. I think the free version lets you record up to 5 minutes for free. But it's a really great resource. I love it. There's others like Vimeo and others that you could use as well. But Loom has kind of been the one that I've been stuck to since doing this consultation process for the last couple of years. But Loom is great because it puts like a little circle bubble of you. You can make it smaller or bigger. You could also just have your avatar in there opposed to like your actual physical face. But I would recommend that you're doing like we're doing right here. But basically that consultation, I give you the script and everything in the Mastering Online Consultation process, but I essentially restate their goal. Hey, John Doe, really excited to work with you. I'm the credit expert behind XYZ company. And, I'm excited that your goal is to buy a home because that's what I specialize in. A lot of people come to me to help them get from where they're at right now to their goal of buying a home. And I want to explore that with you as well. I have had the opportunity to review your credit report, and I noticed there's some gaps that are keeping you and preventing you from buying a home. And you know that, and I know that because you have reached out to me. But I'm excited to also see that there is a solution to fix that gap to get you into your home. And, I've worked with a lot of people in the same similar situation, having collections, having some lates, overextension of credit. So I understand where you're at, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I want to share that experience with you. So I'm going to invite you to work with me. And I just want you to imagine that we are able to get you from where you're at to buying your home. And, you shared with me in the questionnaire that, you didn't feel like a great husband. You felt like a failure of a father, of a man, because you weren't able to give your children that opportunity of having their own home and your wife to have their own home. And I just want you to imagine for a moment, because I have seen people in this same situation and we have taken them from where you're at now to buying a home. I just want you to imagine for a moment that we get you there and you're walking into your brand new home with your baby girl in your arms, and you walk down the hallway, open the bedroom door and say, what color would you like to paint your bedroom? It's just an amazing feeling. And I want to give that gift to you. I've worked with a lot of people and I've been able to do that. And I invite you to that as well. And then I would go into, here's what my process looks like. And this is what the cost of it is and things like that. And then in the video, I would say right below this, you have 2 options to work with me. Most people in your situation choose option number 2. And option number 2 is my full service. This is where I support you and I hold your hand throughout the process and guide you on all the things that need to happen. You'll get a detailed plan, that your step-by-step plan that's going to tell you exactly what needs to happen. Everything's transparent. And then we're going to work through that plan together to get you from where you're at now to that goal of buying that home for your baby girl. And I'm really excited to do that with you. So that's option number 2. Then we also have option number 1, which is our do-it-yourself program. So here's my point, guys. I'm saying look below for the 2 options. So I give them 2 options because most people want to have choices. And so I always like to give 2 choices. I do that with my kids. So if we're at the pool, I might tell my son, hey, do you want to leave in 10 minutes or 5 minutes? And that whole idea of giving him an opportunity to make a decision is huge. So he'll pick sometimes, hey, Mom, 5 minutes. I actually want to leave in 5 minutes opposed to 10 minutes or 10 minutes. And they feel like they have some control. And so people in general want to have that control. And so giving them 2 options, I highly recommend. Again, I go into in depth on the Mastering Online Consultation process of this, but I wanted to give you high level so you understand how that works. And so in that video, I am restating their goal over and over again. Notice that I didn't labor on the issues they had on their credit report. I don't do that. I'm not going to throw up on them. They see the credit report. They know there's issues. That's why they're calling me, right? They just got denied for a home loan or whatever it is. So I don't need to labor on that and make them feel bad about themselves. And a lot of salespeople think that that's the way they need to work. But in reality, we just say, hey, there is a gap. I've seen it before. I've seen it a lot of times. So this helps them not feel hopeless, because the other part of sales is that you want to make sure the consumer feels like there is hope for them. And oftentimes people don't buy from you, not because they don't believe you can't help them, but they don't believe they can do it. So how do you embed that in the process of helping them understand that they can actually do it? That's a really important part of the process. And that's what I do with on my online consultations. And then they're able to also hear, here's how my program works. So it's stated in a video, it's scripted. I know what I'm going to say. They have that information. And if they have any questions about it, they can rewatch that video, right? And my conversion rate from that skyrocketed. Everybody picked one of the two because I offered to. I didn't offer, hey, if you have questions or you think you'd like to work with me, it was, here's the two options to get started. Here's our next move. I invite you to. Most people do this, right? So those are the kinds of language that I recommend that you use in that process. So that is the record the consultation. And I kind of skipped over, but the next one, obviously step 4, is the call to action. And I just stated some of those. So this is at the end of the video, you're explaining your services and you're actually inviting them forward. You're inviting them to the next move to get you where you say you want to go. The next move to you buying a home for your family that is so important for you, right, is this. And this is what most people in your situation that I've worked with, this is what they choose. But here's another option as well. If this feels too heavy, this is another option, right? And so giving them the two options. Also very often in my videos, I like to give them at least one very quick action they can take without signing up for me. So that might be getting, Experian Boost, which helps their profile and their FICO 8 credit scores, getting that set up. That might be one because it's completely free for them. It's an affiliate link for me, so I make a little bit of money off of it. But also I've given them something that actually truly will help them and didn't cost them anything. And that gives me bonus points with consumers because sometimes they'll do the one thing that I asked them to do before they sign up for me, seeing that they get improvement to their credit. And then like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. This works. And then I'll get them to sign up. So I do like to do that often with people. So just remember, if your consultation doesn't lead to action, it's just information. So let me state that again. If your consultation doesn't lead to action, then it's actually just information. And that's where a lot of people lose that sell is we keep giving information. We're going over the credit report with a fine tooth comb with the consumer over the phone or wherever we're doing it. And, oh, this issue and this issue. They really don't care about that. Right. And so we're just giving information opposed to showing them, hey, this is your goal. And here's the next step forward to getting closer to where you want to be. And so again, I invite you to do that. All right. So the next thing I'm going to transition into, because I think I've harped on the online consultation enough, but this is the real game changer in my opinion. Let's say you say, I really like how I do my consultations. This is the real game changer. This is the monthly reviews. This is where you are losing so much of your time. And I know you feel this, right? You're doing the monthly review. You're repeating yourself over and over again to the same client, doing the same things they need to do that they didn't do last month. It gets really boring. It gets very emotionally draining, if you will, because you're like, hey, I want you to do what I say to do because I know it works, right? And so I encourage you to do a different step. And it's very similar to the online consultations. I do dive into that in the Mastering Online Consultation class, but it's the idea of these monthly follow-ups. And this is the one where my clients really loved. Again, this is built inside of Level Up Score to easily be able to do this, showing them their action plan. You're on a video. It's implanted into their action plan so they can watch it right there, see your face. You're building that know, like, and trust. You're in front of them every 30 days, not just by voice on a phone call, but your actual image. And you can answer the questions that they have before they even know they have the question. And so I want to be clear here, though. It's not that you can't talk to me on the phone. So my clients could talk to me on the phone, but only if they needed to and only if they wanted to. And that was the power of it. So I might start my monthly consultations out something like this. Hey, this is Alicia, your credit coach. I'm super excited to see the improvement to your credit score from last month. So here's the changes in your credit score. Congratulations. Here are some of the improvements that you did to get you closer to your goal. Now I'm going to go over a couple of things that we need to work on this month. And you may have questions. You're always welcome to schedule a call with me, but you probably won't have any questions because I'm going to direct you on exactly what we need to do this month. So you see how I set that stage? You can talk to me, but you probably won't want to. And most often they truly didn't want to. They didn't need to, because I'm going to say one or two things, three things at the most that they could be doing to improve their credit through that action plan. And so again, Level Up Score has that embedded. So and these videos could be 30 seconds. I call them my 40-second leadership when I train people on how to do it, because you can do it in 40 seconds, but 30 seconds, a minute, 2 to 3 minutes max on these. You want them short. You want them simple. You want to give them a couple simple actions to take. They have the entire action plan, whether that's 20 to 40 actions that they need to take. It's rarely that much, but let's just pretend here. But we don't want them to feel overwhelmed of like, hey, I got all these actions to take. Instead, we let them know, hey, you have the full transparent blueprint in front of you of all the things we need to do. But if I were to suggest to you 2 to 3 things that I would really like to see you do this month to move the needle in the direction that you want, these are the 2 things. And so I generally will do that. And this helps them see where they're at, where they're going, and what's blocking them this month. And I love to do that. The clients really loved it. The feedback that I get is like, this is so personal. And think about that for a second. Why didn't they say it was so personal when I did a phone call, but when I did a, 30 to 2-minute video, it's all of a sudden, this is so personal. And I think it's because of a couple reasons. Number one, they got to see my face in this transaction. They get to see my enthusiasm, my emotion, because oftentimes I think I'm more excited than they are, right? And so I'm bringing that, and then I'm restating their goal. Hey, your goal is this. This is what you really want. You want to feel empowered as a man by having this home for your wife and for your children, right? Now I'm going back to my story of my client that I talked about earlier. Bringing that back up to them is super important in these videos, because by doing that, you re-engage them back into the process. Because let's be fair, most of what's going to happen in the credit process, they have to do. And sometimes that can be hard. Sometimes that can be emotional. Sometimes that can be a strain on their finances of the things that they need to do. Or maybe there's a lack of finances there that they're trying to figure out how to make this all happen. And so know that there's hardships there, and that could cause them to withdraw and stop doing things. And you're bringing it back of how important it is to them. It's super important. It's probably the single best thing that they have going for them with working with you, is that you are able to do that for them. So I encourage you to make sure that's part of your process. Okay. So we're going to move on, because I'm kind of going slower than I thought. I wanted to, again, bring up the Mastering Online Consultation process, because I kind of overviewed it with you guys today, but I actually have a full class with workbooks and everything. You have a full toolkit, the scripts, how to do your questionnaire. Everything is in this class. So I encourage you to scan that QR code to get more information, open your mind to a different way. And I would love those of you who decide to start doing the online consultations and the online monthly reviews. I would love to hear not just your feedback of how that has empowered you and your schedule and given you your life back, and that you feel more in control of your own life. I know for me, that's been a fabulous gift of being able to, like I said yesterday, I got into my office at 11:30 in the morning because I wanted to, because I had things I put on my schedule that were important to me and that were needle movers for me and my business, not because I had a bunch of tasks to do or a bunch of phone calls to do or a busy schedule like I had in the past. It's super empowering, and certainly it allows you to scale and grow your business a lot faster. And so open your mind to that. Give it a shot. See what you think. Maybe do it on a couple clients, a couple new clients that are coming in, and see what happens. But more than that, I would love feedback on how much your clients enjoy this process, because I think in everything we do, if we're going to automate something, we're going to systemize it, whatever we do, the gauge of whether or not it was good is what our clients feel, right? The value that we're bringing to them. Is it more valuable to them to have a 30 to 45-minute call with you? Or is it more valuable to them to have an action plan in front of them with your video saying, here's the 2 most important things. Here's where you're at. Here's the gap. Here's the things we need to do. Quick video, and they're able to run and go do those things, right? And I think that in my own experience, the latter, that couple-minute video, was much more powerful for the client than any 30 to 45-minute call that I did. A lot of times at the end of the call, they forgot what I asked them to do. They weren't listening. They weren't totally in tune with what was going on. And maybe I was talking over their head. Maybe I was. They're asking questions that sometimes don't even have anything to do with what we're trying to do, right? And so this kind of focuses the attention on what needs to happen. Because the end of the day, the goal is to get them to their goal, right? That's what they want. That's what we want, right? That's going to empower us. That's going to give us more clients are going to come in because that we get this reputation of we're getting people to their goal. And so at the end of the day, that's what we're doing and that's what they want. But so I'd love to hear what your clients, those of you who try this out, what your clients say about this process. I've gotten a lot of feedback from other credit professionals who have used this model and really loved it. So if you're tired of being on calls all day or having a busy schedule and you don't get to control your day, sometimes I didn't get a lunch break because my trial of doing 15-minute phone calls would end up being 30 and 45 minutes. And then I'm late and then I'm going down this whole rabbit hole and repeating that day after that day, repeating myself over and over again. You're less enthusiastic when you're on a 30 to 45-minute phone call every single month with that same client who hasn't changed one thing from the month before, right? You get less enthusiastic about that call. They feel that and they sense that. And then, then they withdraw even more, right? And so repeating yourself, chasing clients. Oh, you didn't schedule your call. Oh, you didn't schedule your call. Or my favorite is, they know they're supposed to schedule a call with you every 30 days. They get their update. They're supposed to schedule a call and then they don't. Months go by and they're wondering what you're doing for them, right? No excuse. At this point, the video goes out to them. They get their monthly review right in their email, right in their text message box, wherever you want to put it or both. And then they can't say that you didn't do that you didn't provide that value. Now it's up to them to watch it. And so we do track that stuff in Level Up Score. So you could see if your client did, in fact, go into their action plan and look at it. And so that gives you some power if they say that they're not doing, they're not doing something and they're looking at it, or they're just simply not looking at it. Like that's on them at that point in time, right? The other thing I'd like to invite you guys to is, as we wrap up right now with this Tuesday top tip, thank you for staying with me, is I do have a live demo every Wednesday at 5 p.m. This live demo is about the software Level Up Score. So how do you take Mastering Online Consultations? You take that class, and how can you take that class and have a system that's already built and designed for that class, making it quick and easy, changing how you do business, where you can have a life while also really helping people, providing huge value. So we're not losing value by making something easier and better. We're actually making the system better and giving more value to the consumer in the process. So again, a different mind shift, a different way of thinking. But in that live, I talk about how to automate your business with this, how to put this all into place so that you can run with this. And if you are new to being a credit professional and you're like, I just feel lost. I'm trying to learn all of the dispute processes and all this other stuff that everyone keeps throwing at me that I need to know. This live is for you because there is a simpler way. There is a simpler way. And not only is it simpler for you to get started in your business and run with it and scale and grow, not only will the revenue come in that you're like, oh, I didn't know that was possible, but you don't need to know all the things you think you need to know today. The Level Up Score is going to give you the information and you're just going to receive that and then be able to support your client and handhold them through that process. So I'm really excited to share that to you. So scan that QR code. You can register for that demo call. That call is about how can we automate our business? How can we plug these monthly reviews into a system already built for this? And how do we scale without doing everything manually? Be on that class. I do that every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and I'd love to see you on that class. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here on Tuesday Top Tips, and I'll leave you with this. Consultations get clients, systems keep and scale them, and that's what Level Up Score does for you. Thank you, and have an amazing day.